get us to the answer, you know, we really should get this. So what is it that we need in order to build wealth? First, you need money. That's pretty obvious, right? And you can get money in a couple ways. You can make money, you can pick up money off the street, you can even win money, right? You have to give it time. You have to, of course, let it grow, because if you put it in your house underneath your bed, there's not much growth opportunity. So there's no way that it can grow. And of course, being careful about the negative interest as well. Okay. Inflation, and that's so funny today, talking about inflation today, I also bought organic milk, a gallon of it, and yes, it is $8 and some change. So that was really surprising to me, because normally, of course, I don't really drink organic, but my grandma, the only milk she buys is organic, so that's only milk I can buy for her. And, you know, I bought it, and a gallon is actually $8. That is really ridiculous. Compared to, like, I think a normal, like, non-organic labeled milk is $4, I think. Yeah. All right. Taxes. So that's something we're gonna go more into detail today. So, you know, stay tuned. And altogether, that's really how you build wealth. So whatever it is that you guys are doing, make sure that you're always going back to this wealth formula to make sure that you're on track to building up your bag of wealth. That, you know, that's why we come to this country, right? We come to this country because we want a better life. We want a better life not only for ourselves, but for our kids and our family. So wouldn't it be nice to not only come here and, you know, have that change of life, but also build something and then leave it to your kids as well, all right? So I think that's really fulfilling. All right, so, you know, we already went over it, so I won't go over it too much, but I'm gonna go more into details step by step, okay? So cash flow. So, you know, that's just your income versus your expenses, right? How much money you have coming in and how much money is going out. So income, you know, you can get it from work, your job, your side gig. I know a lot of people do Uber and Lyft. A lot of people do, you know, Uber Eats and Airbnb, and these are all side gigs that they're doing to make additional income, right? You also have people who invest. You know, I know that a lot of Vietnamese or Asians in general, they like to buy properties to invest and, you know, use that as a additional income source through the rental properties, right? The rents. And you also have businesses. So, you know, those are some common places where you can get your income. But of course, for all of you guys who are on this call, on the Zoom, you guys have the WFG opportunity. So this is probably going to be your best resource in terms of income, right? So we have income that we get from working hard through our own personal effort. So, you know, today I just want to share it. Hani, you know, she had a phenomenal check. I'm not sure if she knows, but it was 4 digits, right? So over $1,000 paid today. So pretty much in this cycle, last 3 days, she was able to earn over $1,000, and that's really awesome. And I'm so glad because I know she worked so hard, right? So in the beginning, of course, it's going to be your own personal effort. But why is it that we want to build a team? Well, agency income is actually where, you know, where we can retire. This is where, you know, in the future, this is where we're going to see the bulk of our income. All right. Then we have bonus income. You know, I think this is like the best time because I feel like there's so many examples for me to talk about, you know, all of what it is I'm sharing, right? So yes, passive income. I think Ricky mentioned passive income. Yes. So bonus income, there's so many different bonuses that we can qualify for. You know, earlier this year, our team qualified for the quarterly bonus, which is, you know, $8,000 to our awesome senior marketing director, but she's so generous that she was able to share, you know, half of that with her associates. I got a piece of it, Quinn got a piece of it, Chang got a piece of it. So we're so happy to be part of a great team that not only do we win together, but we also enjoy together too. But today, you know, like you see in the recognition earlier, Quinn was also able to earn her own bonus, $100 additional. You know, she gets paid for working, but of course, on top of that, she also has bonuses that she can qualify for, and you all can qualify for that bonus too, right? The sky is the limit, right? We also have trips and contests. So, you know, right now, of course, we're not going anywhere, but I can't wait for all of this is over because I can't wait for the next WFG trip. So I know that Hawaii, I see that it was mentioned earlier. That is something that we're fighting for, and that's something that I really want to work towards. I'm working towards, and making sure that I put in those points and putting in, you know, appointments and activities so that I'm getting closer and closer to Hawaii, right? So if you guys who like to travel, why not travel for free, right? So then if you travel for free, it's not going to be part of your expenses anymore. It's just going to be part of, you know, income because it's all paid for, right? All right, so how do we do it? Well, these are some things that we want to consider. Do you know anyone who has debt? Do you know anyone who would like to retire? Do you know anyone who wants their kids to go to college? Do you know anyone who pays too much in taxes? Do you know anyone who would like to save more money, right? So do you know anyone who does not want to lose money in the market, right? Just like how Feng Mei mentioned that when the pandemic first happened, or at least prior to that, Damien and her they were able to help one of their clients secure their retirement funds, meaning their 401k account, into an account where you is not affected by the market. So right now the market is really crazy, is up and down, and so you never know what could happen. But if the market goes down, at least if you're putting it into a secured account, it's not going to be affected. So it's always going to be there, which is really awesome, and that's one of the things that we help families with, right? So why am I asking you all these questions? Well, that's because these are the questions that you want to ask. And if you know anybody who are looking for any of this, then that's an opportunity for you to help them, and not only them, but also help yourself as well. Because, you know, if you're licensed, then, or like earlier, if you're not licensed, there are also opportunities to income. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you help all these people, but of course you always want to help your family first, right? All right, so, you know, that's the income part. I hope you guys are so excited, right? For you guys who are new, you're gonna learn this as you do it, and as you actually start earning those checks, you're gonna realize, hey, oh my God, why didn't I know about this opportunity earlier, right? But it's all about doing it first before you see the results. So I hope you guys, you know, pay attention to this, so then you can actually start going out there and talking to people as well. Now let's talk about the expenses, right? Managing expenses. And I think that this is something that I've learned to do while I was a part of this company, because before this, I was not a good saver, right? Let me tell you guys, this is what I did on my free time. So when I have free time, all I do is spend money, right? I think that's a very normal trend. Every weekend, my parents, well, not my parents, mostly my mom. So my family's favorite pastime is to go to the mall, right? There's not much that we really need to go to the mall for, but because we just have nothing to do with our time, we just go, because that's like our habit, right? So we go to the mall, and then we walk around, and then we just see what we can buy, right? It's not like we haven't something that we have in mind that we need to get. It's just that, you know, we have time. So why not just go to the mall and see what we can spend money on? So let me tell you guys, every single weekend, that was the routine that my family had kind of like built up a habit in me to do. So every time when I am free, I'm bored, I go to the mall and, you know, spend money. And sometimes I don't even buy things that I need. I just want it, right? So, you know, learn from my experience, from what I've seen compared to back then and now. These are some of the things that I've learned. First, it's so important to build good habits and discipline, right? You know, setting up good habits and being disciplined on your spending. I think that's the best thing that you can do. Of course, you're not going to be great in the beginning, but so long as you're conscious of it and you remind yourself that, oh, probably want to spend money instead of saving, rather want to save money than spend, you know, keep this in your mind, and over time, you know, you'll get better at it, right? You want to think about needs versus wants. So when you're thinking about what it is that you are about to buy, is it something that you need or is it something that you just want, right? So for me, right now I'm debating about getting a new computer. So this is something that's been on my mind because I just don't know if I need it or I want it, because I feel that I need it, but at the same time, it's also partly a want too. I just haven't decided it yet. So, that's another thing about buying something, is that you probably want to think twice about before you buy it. Because back then, I know that I used to buy things at the spur of the moment. I'm a very type. I'm the type of person who um, act on instant gratification. So whatever it is that I want to eat, I go eat it. Whatever it is that I want to buy, I go buy it. Wherever it is I want to go, I just go. Right? Never really thinking or planning ahead. Just do it as soon as I think about it. Right? But sometimes I need to slow myself down and think about, is this something that I really want to do or really want to buy? Right? So because every single thought that you have will result in the decisions that you make, and these decisions are going to determine what type of actions that you take, right? And so, really being disciplined about what it is you're thinking is going to help you a lot in terms of building up those financial habits, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's not money you're spending, there's also time too, right? So spending time is even more dangerous because you can't get that back. Money you can make, but time is something that, a second goes by, you're never going to get that second back, right? All right. Eating at home, well, unless you're investing time into your business. So when I think about this, is maybe it's an excuse for me, but I always like to go out to eat with my associates or business partners. Why? Because I always feel that that's an opportunity for me to get to know them better, right? Build a better relationship with them, build a better relationship with my team. And I always enjoy, eating out anyway. So why not, use that time, not by myself, but with my team. So I know Hani, she really likes eating out. So we have that in common. So a lot of times when we book appointments, if it's an opportunity for us to not only talk, but eat at the same time, we utilize that opportunity. But I think recently with the pandemic, restaurants are not open. So it's actually a time for us to save a lot of money. So I know that because I'm not eating out as much anymore, well, because restaurants are closed, I'm actually saving so much more money compared to, always going out and eating, right? So there are, a silver lining to everything, right? Keep an eye for discounts and sale. If you guys are planning to buy a big purchase, for example, I know that last year when I bought my house, I needed to get different appliances. So at that time, luckily, Black Friday was coming around the corner. So I used that opportunity and those sales to, get the deal. And, Champagne, she's really the master at finding sales and discounts, because she was able to, link a couple of us together, and we were able to, get even more of a discount because we bought in bundles, right? So that's something that to think about too. So yeah, so this is, right now, because of the pandemic, I would say that for most of us, I think if we have good financial habits and we're not recklessly spending, I think a lot of us are finding that our savings are increasing more and more. Why? Because we're not spending as much as before. Over the most times over the summer, if you have kids, you're taking your kids out, right? This might be the time for you to go on vacation, right? Definitely eating out, enjoying yourself, but because of the quarantine, we can't do any of that, right? A lot of social activities, a lot of activities where you would spend money is actually not able. You're not able to do that. And so I see that I'm saving a lot more money during this time just because I'm pretty much just staying at home. And what can you do at home one thing I'm good at is I think that I'm not like a crazy online shopper. I think some people, I think online shopping is something that can really affect your finance right now, especially since you're home. But for me, I'm not an online shopper. So if you are an online shopper, make sure that you know that about yourself and really think about twice before you buy something, right? All right, so aside from that, I just wanted to share some resources for you because there are really great resources out there that is available, and I think it can help you save some money more. So for you guys who, like food, need food to eat, I think every Monday and Thursday, I think every household, you're able to get a box of produce and non-perishable goods, right? There is a website that you can actually go online, put in your address, and they'll be able to tell you where to get these that box, right? And it's actually pretty nice because I know if you guys aren't aware, right now we actually have a lot of a surplus of food supply because to go into the economics of it, pretty much the restaurants are the biggest purchaser of all these produce, right, and food. And restaurants, businesses have been closed and slow lately, so they're not buying all the food that the farmers are producing. And so there's actually there's an excess of food that is not going anywhere, and that's why they decided, why not just give it to people for free right now because of what's going on. You can just use it instead of throwing it out, because otherwise, actually, these produce are going to be thrown out. And I've seen videos of it, food, produce that's just being thrown out because nobody's buying it. So really take advantage of that and take your the food. All right, if you guys have children, there's free diapers and free food at certain sites as well. Like I mentioned, I have Internet Essential, which is $10 for me, but again, for some reason my brother thinks that it's more important, it's not good enough, and so I pay $60 for my parents to have internet, but this internet is even more laggy than the internet I have at home, which is really surprising to me. So, if you guys are wondering about that $10 internet, wonder no more, because, it's very good. The service is good enough for me to run all of my appointments, no problem. And there's also Verizon actually have something going on as well, which is $20 a month, right? So you guys can check that out. All right. So I really like this quote. I think I first heard it from Champagne, but it's actually from a very wise man named Jim Rohn. So Jim Rohn, he mentions that discipline weighs ounces and regret weighs tons. So, if you can just discipline yourself right now, whatever it is that you're about to buy, if you really don't need it, then don't buy it, right? Because if you can save that little bit of money, then all the money that you save later on, do you think you're going to regret saving money? Do you know anybody who regrets saving money? Well, probably not, right? A lot of times it's quite the opposite. Most people regret not saving enough, right? And so we really want to practice our discipline so then we don't, spend recklessly. All right, emergency funds. So having 3 to 6 months of emergency fund is really important. Ideally, we want to have a year's worth of emergency fund if possible, but first hitting that 3 months and then 6 months and then climbing up the ladder and save more and more. That's really important. Because why? Well, how do you do it? I think the best tip that I got is actually pay yourself first. So what that means is that, sit down, figure out what your expenses are, right? And then what is going to be the leftovers of what it is that you should be saving, instead of waiting to the end of the month to save, save it in the beginning, right? Make sure that you're always saving first, and also make it automatic. So with banks nowadays, they have an online system set up so that you can actually save automatically, meaning that, they'll help you, take money out of your checking, put it into your savings automatically. You don't even need to think about it. All you need to do is set it up the first time, and then from there, it's just going to run on its own, which is really awesome. And I think that's really the best way for you to do it, because sometimes if you leave it to yourself, you might forget, right? Because we're human, we forget about things. So having the machine to remember for us, I think that's the best and most dependable way, All right, so why we want to have emergency funds? Well, for major car repairs, right? I think, well, right now I'm not driving as much, but I know that every single year, driving in the city of Philadelphia during the summer, there's always potholes, right? So there's always pothole, there's always road construction because, they want to fix up the roads during the summer. So then during the winter, the weather can destroy it. And then the summer, they come back to fix it again. So it's always that cycle, right? So the roads in Philadelphia is not the greatest. And if you need a repair, then you want to make sure they have money for it, right? It could easily be maybe $100 to change your tires or something like that. But all of those things need money, right? If you have the money, then you pay and life goes on. But if you don't, then you might have to borrow money. And that's not a good feeling, right? So not having emergency funds is actually the one way that people can easily get into debt. Major home repairs. So my house, even though I just bought it, but we recently had a leak from our ceiling and, we actually had to repair it, right? Luckily, it wasn't anything major, but I know that fixing a roof, right, is a big expense. It could be a couple $1,000s. So, making sure that I have money just in case I need to fix a roof, right? Then I have that money and, I don't really have to stress too much about it. Yes, roof is expensive, right? Then you have major appliance repairs as well or replacement. You're even though our technology is getting better and better, but it doesn't mean that it's gonna last forever, right? Refrigerators, they become bad over time, and so you need to replace them. So being able to have the funds to replace them is important, right? Because how else would you store your food if you didn't have refrigerators? Loss of job. So right now is a great example to understand why it's so important to have because a lot of people, they were unemployed for quite some time and some people still are unemployed. So not really to having to depend on unemployment, but having your own savings is really important because we're lucky that right now people the unemployment has expanded so much, but imagine if you don't have that, right? Then what are you going to depend on? For me, I believe that the only person I can really depend on in terms of finance is myself. I would not want to put my financial future and my family's future in anybody else's hand. So planning it out for myself is really the priority. If you get sick, so God forbid, you do get sick, then, even though for health insurance, it does cover some part, but there's still co-insurance, there's still co-payment and deductibles. Do you have money saved up for all of those expenses, right? And then, there's also things that, like, for example, your parents, right? I know that some of us have older or elderly parents that they might need somebody to take care of them. I don't think that I know anybody in this room right now, but I know that I have some clients who put their parents into nursing home. And let me tell you, out of a family of 4, most of them are all professionals. They're doctors, they're lawyers, and teachers, but all of them struggle. Well, they have to pitch in order to get their parents to go to the nursing homes because nursing homes are not cheap. All right, so it's all of those are just some of the reasons why you want to have emergency funds, and it's important to have liquid cash when you're thinking about this. Because and what does that mean? That means that you can't treat your 401k like emergency funds because 401k money is really meant for retirement and is really there for you to wait till you're 59 and a half to actually start taking out as a distribution for your retirement. So if you treat your 401k as a retirement or emergency fund and you take it out, not only do you have to deal with the penalty and taxes, but you're not going to have much left over for your retirement. So having it for emergency funds, I would recommend putting it into just a regular savings account, probably a high yield savings account, the ones that can give you better interest rate than Wells Fargo or TD Bank. But if that's your preference to have it in the TD Bank so it's convenient, that's really up to you. But of course, the idea is that you do have one. All right, so for me, I like bank accounts that don't have a minimum, so it's really not too much maintenance, right? But of course, no maintenance fee. I know I closed a couple of bank accounts because I didn't want to deal with the maintenance fee. Let me tell you, Santander charge you $15 to have a bank account with them, and that's a lot, okay, guys? Some ones that I know of, and if you're looking into high yield savings account, Capital One and Ally Bank are really good. So take a look into them. They're online banks, but hey, with this day and age, we got to get used to working online, right? And so if you guys are okay with online banks, then take a look at them. They don't, we have a branch for Capital One, but for Ally, it's really solely online. But hey, I think most banks, you're working online anyway, all right? All right, so let's talk about debt management, right? So emergency funds is really there so then you don't have too much debt, but of course there are some debt that, that are necessary because, who has $100,000 to buy a house, in cash, or $250,000 to buy a house in cash, right? So we do need to leverage money, leverage mortgages to purchase our homes. So best recommendation is if you're planning on, buying a big purchase, have a good credit score, right? Because good credit score can help you save a lot. It can lower your interest rate. It can give you a better approval rating. So all of that is good. If you have a credit card, I recommend treating your credit card like a debit card, meaning that whatever it is that you have in the bank account, that is pretty much all you should be spending, right? And as soon as you spend it, I recommend paying it off right away. You don't have to wait to the statement to close or anything like that to pay it off. You can actually pay it off right away. And for me, I find that it actually helps you manage your crazy spending more because, if you spend, and then you wait to the end of the month, then you're going to realize that's like a big bill, right? And then, once that big bill is taken out of your bank account, you're going to be left with a little bit. But then if you pay it off in the beginning and you realize that, oh my God, or you see that your bank account is going down, and you're going to start realizing, oh my God, I'm actually spending a lot, right? So, I always believe that we don't plan to fail. It's just that we fail at planning. And so anything that we do, we definitely want to plan ahead of time. Give ourselves a couple months ahead of time. Well, I say for college planning, if you are a parent, I would give yourself many, many years. As soon as the baby is born, you definitely want to start planning from day one. Buying a house, definitely start planning, as early as you can. Buying a car, I feel like a couple months in advance is fine. But for college planning, definitely utilize the resources out there, like applying for FAFSA and financial aid, applying for grants and scholarships, because there are a lot out there, right? And having a conversation with your kid to make sure that they're aware of this. So if you guys are interested to learn about what the grants and scholarships are, then talk to, your SMD, because there is a whole list of them that I'm sure they're willing to share. Think long-term, right? Because I think that I think a lot of parents, they don't realize that nowadays for kids, it's not about a 4-year degree anymore. Some kids actually, well, nowadays the trend is really for people to go for further education after their bachelor's, right? So for example, I feel that right now with the pandemic, the graduates who are going to be graduating this year, right? If they cannot find a job because of the harsh work environment out there, opportunities out there, I think a lot of them are going to consider going back to get their master's, right? And that's also something that is going to be an additional cost to them. So, every career that they really have to see how long it's going to be, and if it's going to require them to go for their master's, their postdoc or PhD, whatever it is, right? Because all of that is going to be additional money that you have to pay for, or they might have to take loans to afford. And so having these conversations is really important, and getting to know what your kid's future plan is and advising them so then they make really good decisions. I think that's the best thing that we can do as adults, and of course, as parents, right? Diversify your college application. I think that whenever I sit down with somebody who I consult on in terms of finance, I think it's really important for them to understand that, you know, don't just think that applying to that one school is going to be it, right? Apply to a lot of them if you really want to see which one is going to give you the best financial aid packet. Because if you apply for one, and I mean, that's all you have, but if you apply to 10 and you realize that one school is going to give you the best financial aid packet, and if you go there, you don't have to pay too much, then that's really the best option for you. All right, consider community college. All right, next is mortgage. So I don't have too much time, so I'm gonna go through this, right? So, you know, there are grants and public programs from banks and, you know, other organizations that you can qualify for. I know that there is a $10,000 first home buyers grant in Philadelphia if you guys are first home buyer. There's also $4,000 grant from this program called Home Buy Now, which, you know, I was able to get. For property taxes, I know some people, you know, if you guys live in Philly and you're worried about the rising property taxes, then these are some programs that is going to help you. If you're a resident for at least 10 years and you own the home, then you can actually apply for LOOP, which actually gives you a very good discount, or at least you won't be affected by the rising property prices and taxes too much, right? And this is really good, and it's meant to help you save on your taxes. Then you also have the homestead exemption, and for the homestead exemption, actually anybody can qualify for it, okay? So if you're a homeowner, I recommend applying for this because it actually brings down your property assessed value by $45,000, which is about $600 in tax savings. So that's something to consider, right? And you only have to enroll into it once. All right, now, if you have credit card debt, right, then this is where we might want to take a look into Debtmerica. So Debtmerica, if you're someone who have over $7,500 in credit card debt, right? Well, because, I don't know, you bought some appliances, right? And you haven't gotten a chance to pay it off. I don't know what the reason why is, but if you have it, then Debtmerica can actually help you, you know, cut that debt into half, get rid of it. So then, you know, that doesn't affect you in the long run, because if you have that debt and you're carrying it, you know, year to year to year, not only are you paying a lot of interest, right? But that's going to affect your credit score a lot. And that's going to actually, you know, the first point of debt management is having a good credit score, because that affects the rest of your life. How much interest you're going to get when you apply for another loan, mortgage, student loans, whatever it is, right? So, you know, getting rid of that debt as soon as possible is the best solution for most people, right? But of course, if you have anybody in mind who might be in that situation, you can refer them and actually get a check, just like how Jessica was able to get paid while she wasn't licensed yet, right? So this is an opportunity for everyone. So if you know anybody who has debt, then you can actually help them, you know, cut down their debt, but also you can actually get a referral fee as well. Now, if you have debt yourself, then you can refer yourself and actually use that referral fee to pay off the debt. Isn't that an amazing win-win situation? All right, rent, mortgage and rents. So we might want to consider refinancing, and this is just, you know, locking in on a lower interest rate. Interest rate right now are pretty low. So if you bought your house, you know, 10 plus years ago, and at that time it was high, and now you want to consider looking at refinancing, then definitely, you know, this is the best time to do it because the interest rate are just so low. It could potentially lower your monthly payment, right? So those are the pros, right? So the cons are that it does reset your mortgage term. So what I'm thinking is that if it lowers your monthly payment and, you know, reset your mortgage term, then actually I recommend, you know, just paying how you would pay like before, you know, pay more into it. So then you can actually get rid of that mortgage earlier than that 30 years. So for you guys who don't know, you can actually pay more into your mortgage to actually pay off that mortgage earlier. you don't have to wait till 30 years later to pay off your mortgage. You can actually, put more additionally on top of that and, get rid of that mortgage early. And then, of course, the biggest factor is the fees, right? The fees that can go into a refinancing. Pretty much you're, paying a chunk of money first so that, for the future, you're going to get a reduced interest rate, and that's going to save you money in the long run, right? So I would recommend definitely, if you're considering refinancing, sitting down with a banker or a financial expert to really do the math and crunch the numbers, because it's not as simple as, saying yes or no to refinancing. It's all about everyone's situation, okay? So some resources during this time, right? So if you guys have mortgage, there is an opportunity for you to get $1,000 grant per month up to 6 months to help you pay down your mortgage, right? Also, if you guys are a renter, there's actually $750 grant that does similar, where it can help you pay your rent, right, for a total of 6 months. Now, you would think that you have to be low income to qualify for this, but actually, the income limits are pretty, I wouldn't say it's high, but it's definitely not excluding the majority of us, right? So if you're a household of two, husband and wife, and your income is $77,000, then you can qualify for, $1,000 or $700 for your rent, okay? If you're a household of three, then $87,000. So if you want to learn more about that, then, this is the website that you can go into. All right, next, let's talk about protection, building up a proper financial foundation. So, this is the order that we should be working at, which is, first is the protection. Why? Because imagine when you're building a house and you have a, weak foundation, what is going to happen when some turbulence come by, right? Let's say we have a storm or a tornado and it's really crazy. Do you think our house is going to survive? What do you guys think? If you say yes or no, put it in the chat. I want to know. So if you say no, it's not going to survive on weak foundation, then you would be right. And for our finance, a strong foundation means that we have to have proper protection. So why is that? Well, what is proper protection? For me, it's really insurance, right? Any type of insurance. Why? Because imagine, if anything were to happen, let's say you get into a car accident, right? Would you rather your insurance pay or you pay? Because you can save as much money as you want, but any emergency can happen and that will wipe completely everything that you've saved up for, right? And that's not a great way to build wealth, right? And so insurance is really there to protect us from the risk of the things that could happen but that we didn't plan for, right? For example, the pandemic, right? We didn't plan for this, but it happens. So having proper protection is really important. Then everything else will just follow, right? So let me tell you about proper protection in my own family. Oh, sorry about that. Now, before we move into that, definitely want to talk about the X curve. So why is it that we want to get protection and any protection, but most importantly, life insurance, right? Is because of this reason, right? So when you're young, right, you have a lot of responsibilities, right? It's the blue line is the responsibility line, right? So when you're young, you have responsibilities like your kids, your mortgage, your any type of debt that you owe, your family, right? So all of these are your responsibilities, making sure that your kids go to college, taking care of your parents, all of that, right? Now, as time goes on and as you're older, hopefully, you're paying off your mortgage. Your kids grow up and they are out of the house, so you don't have to worry about them too much anymore. But I know with Asian households, a lot of times, you want your kids to be with you forever, right? But the idea is that they're going to become independent. You don't have to pay for their food anymore. They will go out there and make their own money, right? So your responsibility will decrease with time. Now, what is the yellow line? Well, the yellow line is the big bag of wealth that you're building up, right? So in the beginning, when you're first starting out, when you first come to this new country, you don't have much, right? But you're working diligently, you're going to do odd end jobs, working at the factories, getting entry-level jobs, just doing whatever it is to build up a life for yourself and making that money, right? And you're saving, you're saving, you're saving, you're buying your first home, you're buying your first car, right? Over time, you're gonna be able to build up wealth, right? So at the end of the road, you're gonna have your house or many homes, right? You're gonna have your investments. You're gonna have this wealth that is going to be there for you, right? And this is the ideal situation where, as time goes on, your responsibilities go down and your wealth increases. But let's say what happens when along the way, as you're building up your wealth, you're strong, you think that nothing's going to happen to you, and bam, you get Corona, you get COVID, right? And you didn't make it. Well, what's going to happen to your family? What's going to happen to your mortgage? What's going to happen to your kids' college, right? This is why we need protection, because should anything happen, then at least the protection is going to be there. This is going to be an umbrella to protect us from the rain. So I hope you guys all have proper protection, or at least sat down to do your financial planning already, so that you know what to prioritize with your finance, right? Because I remember that's the first thing I did when I sat down with my trainer. So when I first started, this is the first policy, right? I started it back in 2015, right? And then 1 year later, I actually got another policy, right? So both of this was actually, my trainer actually helped me open up my policies, because, who else would do that but your trainer? And then later on, I also got a policy with Nationwide. So this one is actually Transamerica. I have two policies in Transamerica, and then I have one policy with Nationwide. I mean, all companies are great, but for me, these are the two companies I have with so far. All right. So I guess my added value is 2.25, right? I'm working on more, so, it's coming. But the idea is that, hey, you got to practice what you preach, right? So for me, of course, if I'm talking about protection to you guys, then I have to have protection for myself, right? Not only that, but, oh my God. I think I have some other, how do I do this? I have other things I want to show, but I'm going to delete that one.
Maya, you could ask to bring it forward. Click on the picture.
Yeah, I have a lot of pictures. I just don't know which one to bring forward. That's why. All right. So earlier I talked about my policies, right? But in my family, everyone who is in good health, they're all protected, right? So my mom, she got her policy when I was a trainee, and I wanted to share what it is that I'm doing with my family. So the person who helped my family was Damien. At that time, he was my trainer, right? So he helped my mom with a policy, right? And then later on, I love the idea about the juvenile accounts. And, like I was telling you guys, my mom, she loves shopping and she loves spending money. So why not, give her a reason to save money? So we opened up policy for my brother and my sister, so then they can build up their own, assets, later on, kind of give them a head start. So then later on, they have money to retire, or later on, they have money to buy a house, right? So these are the policies that we helped open up for my brother and sister. And luckily, we were able to do it because my sister I don't think my sister qualifies for life insurance now, but luckily we were able to get it before she disqualified. And then my mom, actually opened up another policy for retirement. So for her, we opened up a policy with Voya. We put a one-time deposit of $50,000, but the future, when she is when she's retired at age 66, right? She's actually able to take out $13,000 every single year, all the way up to age 90. So for 25 years, she can take out, $13,000. So that's about $300,000 that she's taking out, from $50,000 that we put in, then, $370,000 is how much we're going to get out. So I think that's really good. And I'm really excited for her because, that is some money that later on she can just spend more, right? And then my dad, his health is not so great. So for you guys who got qualified for any policy at all, really take that as a blessing because, you know, my dad, he wasn't able to actually qualify for life insurance. But luckily, we were able to help him with other services, for example, his retirement. So we were able to help him with an annuity account where, like I was mentioning to you, we can actually secure his retirement so it doesn't, is not affected by the market. So if the market goes down today, then his money is still safe, right? All right, so when you're talking about building wealth, it's so important to understand about doing it early, right? So when I first started, I really understand about the timing about it all, right? Because the math just makes sense. So let's take a look at two examples, right? You have Mr. Save Early and Mr. Save Later. So Mr. Save Early, you know, he's saving $10,000 a year. So starting at age 30, you know, he just wants to save. So for 8 years or 9 years, he's saving a total of $90,000, $10,000 every single year, right? So that by the time that he retires, you know, he has a total of $1 million at age 66. Now let's take a look at Mr. Save Later. Let's talk about somebody who is the typical, you know, person out there where, you know, instead of saving money now, they want to go on vacation, right? They want to have their destination wedding, like, I don't know. They want to just do everything because, you know, life is so short. YOLO. They want to live life now, right? Not really think about the future. You know, take life day by day. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, right? But I still believe that you can plan ahead of time and save and still live a good life, right? Especially if you're in WFG, if all the vacations are free, right? So this person, instead of saving when he's young, he waits till later. And he starts saving at age 39, just 1 year after Mr. Save Early. So for the next whatever years, 28 years, he saves a total of $280,000. By the time that he retires at age 66, he has less than the other person at $953,000. So do you guys see the difference? So time is such a big factor. You know, time in terms of finance is something that you'll never get back. But if you have it now, then you really, you know, need to start saving now because it can compound and work for you. The worst is when you wait till later and you tell me, you know, you want to save for retirement. This is your budget, right? And it's not much, right? But you want to have $1 million by the time that you're 60, right? I'm going to tell you, it's going to be really hard, right? So saving as soon as possible, you know, helping your kids start up an account as soon as possible is really awesome because you have all that time to help you leverage and grow. That's why I wanted to help my siblings by starting something for them early, right? All right. Now, not only that, but you also have to think about the taxes, right? So there's really 3 ways that you can be taxed. And I'm not going to go over too much because I think Hani did a great job earlier, right? So you can be taxed now. So every single year, any interest or earnings that you get, you're going to be taxed. So for people who invest into properties, so if you guys have rental or any rental income, every single year you have to file all that rental income, right? So imagine you get $12,000, then, you know, a chunk of it is already gone to taxes. So that's something you have to consider as well, right? Not only that, but you have maintenance and all the headache of the tenant calling you. Hey, my parents have some rental properties and I know it could be a headache to, you know, have and deal with all that. Then you have the tax later. So tax later is, you know, right now you don't pay your taxes because you're contributing into these tax deferred accounts like 401k or IRA. But when you take it out as a distribution, when you retire at 59 and a half, that's when you take it out, right? And that's when Uncle Sam is going to hit you with the taxes. So think about it. Do you think taxes are going to go up or down in the future? So let me give you a little bit of a history lesson, right? So this is actually our marginal tax rate since 1930. So back then, the red line is actually the highest tax that somebody had to pay in America. Can you believe that at one point you had to pay 94% of your income? This is actually during the war. So during the war, you know, every dollar that you made, 94% of it actually went to the government, just like that, right? And right now, taxes have been at a historic low. And people still complain that they pay too much in taxes, right? But right now, guys, let me tell you, it's actually at a very low point. But what is this gray line or gray like graph that we see here? This is actually the government spending. So during the war, right, the government was spending a lot. Why? Because, well, you have to support the war, right? Right now, we see that the government spending is increasing. And, this is back in 2014. But imagine, that this gray area is increasing way more because of the pandemic. Because think about all that money that the government is injecting into, the economy right now. Where is it going to come from, right? So taxes have been low and government spending have been high. So something have to give. So, some recent numbers, like for 2018, 2020, the marginal rate has dropped down a little bit more to 37. But again, do you think that this rate is going to stay low forever, right? So going back to the idea about paying tax later, do you know how much taxes you're going to pay by the time that you retire? Do you think taxes are going to go down or up? Raise your hand if you think it's going to go up. That's what I think, right? Because I still have how am I? So I still have about 40 years before I start taking out money from my retirement account. And I have no idea what 40 years later the tax environment is going to be in. Chances are it could be going up, right? So that's why, I agree with Feng Mei. Personally, I think tax advantage is the best. Why? Because imagine, you pay tax on a small amount, you pay tax on $1. And if that dollar becomes $100, $1,000, then you do not have to pay taxes on whatever it is that you gained in that account. Isn't that awesome, right? So these are the accounts where you can find it, but let me show you how it actually plays out in real life. So for me, this training actually worked out in my favor because I actually had an in-force illustration of my policy, I guess last month, right? Or two weeks ago, right? So again, my trainer, well, at that time, Huang, he helped me with my policy, one of my policies. So what an in-force illustration is just a checkup on your finances, right? On your life insurance policy. So, with everything, you definitely want to have a review on it once or 2 year, one or 2 years, every 1 or 2 years, right? So for me, I wanted to make sure that my policy is on track to my goal. So for this policy, it's $1 million policy. I'm saving about $500 a month, right? I got it when I was 20 years old. So again, saving early, right? So I'm putting about 6,000 every single year. They're actually limiting me, but that's okay. And by the time that I retire, my expected retirement, I guess, total would be 1.2 million. Isn't that amazing, guys? So 1.2 million. And of course, I'm not going to take it all at once, because what happens if I take out 1.2 million all at once? Well, this policy is going to close, and then I'm going to have to pay taxes. I don't want that, right? Because paying tax on 1.2 million, even at this rate, at 37%, that's like what? $400,000. That's a lot. I don't want to pay $400,000 to the government, okay? So, we're going to take it out slowly. And the money that I'm going to take out from this policy is all going to be tax-free, right? Because here, the policy, all the earnings that I get, it's growing tax-deferred. And then when I take it out, at least $1 million, all of it is going to be tax-free, right? And what did I put in? Well, I put in $250,000. So I put in $250,000, I got out, 1.2 million. Not bad. But of course, I'm going to get out more if I take my time and take out slowly. All right. So that's just an example of, one of my policies. I actually have a nationwide policy too. So it should be looking very similar, right? But the goal is I want to save more. All right. So, that's just an example of how I've decided to save and build up my wealth. But at the end of the day, we really want to learn how to preserve it as well. Okay. So how do we preserve it? Well, through estate planning, making sure that we have the proper will, right? Because your house, if you and your spouse pass away, then that house is not going to automatically go to your kids. You actually have to have it in writing so that your kids are able to take over that ownership, right? So this is what we call, assets that you really have to include in your will, right? Your car, your checking and savings account, all of this needs to be written down on who you want to pass down to, because otherwise it's going to create a lot of confusion and nobody wants that, right? Any asset not by contract. So life insurance is a asset by contract that has a beneficiary. So does your retirement account, but for house, car, saving, and checking, they do not have a beneficiary named. So you need to have a will. Otherwise, you can also consider a trust. So trusts, there are revocable and irrevocable, right? The benefit of having it is you can avoid probate, meaning that you avoid the court and
Mine got stuck, right? We're getting to the most exciting part, how to transfer wealth. Mine, come back. She's coming back, I'm sure. Welcome back, Mai. Welcome back, Mai.
sorry, I got kicked out, but it's okay. Like I was mentioning, Legacy Shield. As an associate, you guys have access to Legacy Shield, which is the online will prep and trusts and everything like that, right? So it's free and it's legal, so it works in the eye of law. So that's something that you can use to build up your will and your trust. All right, so that is the end of my presentation. I'm gonna pass the mic back to you, Quinn.
Thank you so much, Mike. That is a great training that you had tonight. Very detailed, very informative. I think everyone, just loving it. Thank you so much. So let's, do any one of you have questions? If you do, then please ask away. If not, then we're gonna do our each team's breakup.
Great training, Mai. One of the questions I may ask is that, can you share that into our team file?
Sure.
After you cross out all the personal information.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So let's do our team breakout. Team United, go to Femei's Zoom meeting room, and Team Attraction, stay here.
Actually, Team Attraction, can you use another Zoom? Because I have another appointment at 9:30.
Okay.
No, give her.
Oh, I'm sorry, Femei. Sorry, I muted everybody.
Okay. Hey,
You can come. You guys can come into my room.
hi, Team United. So the people I've been training, please go to Zoom meeting 916-916-9888. I'm gonna put in the chat box. Please join me there so we can have a recap. Okay. What we learned from Mai tonight is phenomenal. So let's join me at my personal meeting ID 916-916-9888 for a recap. Okay, talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Mai, for the awesome training. Thank you, Quinn, for the MC. You've been a wonderful MC, Quinn.
Thank you.
Okay, Unita, Ending, Zach, Effendi, all of you guys hop
Ibrahim.
into. Honey, can you send it to them also so they know?
Yes, I will send it.
Come to my Zoom. I'm on my Zoom. 小林姐，你也去我们的 Zoom 哈。
New people do not know Chenping Zoom. Chenping Zoom is 333-988-1688. Password 8888. Unita,
I think you can
Afandi.
text them. So
Yes,
then
I am texting it